Well, you know that presidential election I've been talking about for the last 2 weeks? I'm going to complain about it a little bit more tonight. And Jeff Say from the Clarion Call, the editor-in-chief of the Clarion Call, will be joining us tonight on Feedback. Good evening and welcome to Feedback. This Tuesday night, I am Mark Despotakis, the host of this show, and as you may know, I've been complaining about the presidential election for the past 2 weeks. I took on the Republican side of it 2 weeks ago. I took on the Democratic side last week. Now I'm going to just basically give you the whole thing. You know, I said a few weeks ago that it seems like this has been going on for eons, which it has, and there are still eons to come. We're still 13 months away from the real election when this is all over. And we're already deluged hearing about these people, and it's been in the media for months upon months. And on Sunday afternoon, I came across maybe an idea to solve this whole thing. There was an editorial in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by Jack Kelly, who is the national affairs writer for the Post-Gazette. And he was talking about shorter presidential campaigns, and I would agree that would be a good idea, but he gives the example of Canada, and quoting him here, it says, Canada's last national election campaign began on April 27th, 1997. All right, so try to get a time frame of that. And ended on June 2nd, 1997. So that's about, what, a month? A little more than a month? Voter turnout for Canada's election was 67%. You know what the last presidential election for the United States was? 49%. And our campaign goes on for over a year and a half even, before the real election actually happens. And the spending for all 14 parties contesting 301 seats in Canada's parliament was less than $40 million US. And the last numbers we heard out of George W. Bush a few months ago, I mean, heaven knows what it is now, but a few months ago it was up to $36 million. So these campaigns just seem to go on forever, and the money plays such a huge part in it. Now we're hearing maybe Pat Buchanan's going to switch over to the Reform Party because I believe they're going to get $12 million from the government. $12 million, like, think back again, $40 million went for 301 seats in the Canadian Parliament. It just seems kind of interesting. It's probably the media's fault, but it's also these candidates' fault because they are out there from long before, and you know what? Most people don't even care. That's another problem. The people are just too apathetic about it, that they're hearing these names, but they don't care, and a name they recognize, they're probably going to vote for. And maybe in Canada, they're a little bit wiser to what's going on. Maybe we can take a lesson this time from our neighbors to the north. Well, that was this week's information about the presidential campaign. I always want to, every week seems I'm giving you something, complaining about something. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with Jeff Say from the Clarion Call about its contents and some of their editorials and just some other general things coming up after this.
Early years, young children cannot stand on their own. Uniting parents and children is an important part of the life of a community. Stand for Children encourages people to make a personal commitment to stand for the health of children. 300,000 Americans marched in Washington, D.C. last June to support Stand for Children Day. Stand for Children seeks to lift the belief that children need our help to stand.
It's her birthday. I'm the man. It's her birthday.
Exercised lately?
Sad. Looking back now, the things you go through in life. scary. The worst thing about being on welfare was my kids what they really wanted. I had to get a better life for my girls and myself. I got off welfare. I got a good job. Makes me the happiest mother in the world. I live for my girls.
We're not asking you to hire everyone on welfare, just one.
All right, and we're back. Before we get to Jeff Say from the Clarion Call, there was one thing I neglected to tell you I wanted to tell you about. Someone from our news team that you didn't see on the air last week and you're not going to see on the air this week was here just a few minutes ago. Christy Herman, our Wednesday night female news anchor, was here, and I saw her, and, well, she injured herself. That's why she wasn't on the news. She injured her right arm, and it's not in a sling. It's broken, and I think she said it was broken in a few different places. She was showing me her arm. It's wrapped up, and there's also these metal, I don't even know what they were, but like 4 of them clasps up her arm. And she was saying that she obviously won't be able to come back because she has a lot of work to make up from being out of classes and things because of that. But also, she said she can't get the arm high enough to get it up on our news desk. So she said maybe we'll see her next week, and we wished her well, and on behalf of you, I guess we wished her well as well. All right, now, Jeff Say from the Clarion Call is joining us. Thanks for joining us this evening.
No problem, Mark. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Pretty good.
Good.
So you are the editor-in-chief of the Clarion Call.
Yes, sir.
Our university campus newspaper. What all does that entail? What's your job entail?
I'm pretty much in charge of putting together the opinion and editorial pages, which range from anywhere to 4 to 5 pages a week. I also take care of any business that our other editors can take care of. I'm in charge of checking out what the material they put out. I edit it. If there's any problems, any controversial issues that goes through, it has to come through me first. So I can either say yay or nay. And I'm pretty much there to make sure everything runs smoothly. We have all our different section editors. We have our news editor, our managing editor, our lifestyles editor, our sports editor, copy and design, which she pretty much puts the paper down on the pages, and the rest of the editors print out the copy. And we have the lifestyles, which covers campus activities, music reviews, movie reviews, that type of things. A calendar of events. News covers happenings on the 14-state system, with the strike and with stuff going on at Clarion with our student senate and our faculty senate. Opinion and editorials, pretty much just letters from the editor, our editorials, and we always put something in. Since the strike's been going on, we've had quite a few letters from the state system and APSCUF concerning the labor dispute, and we've used that as a forum for students to find out what's going on.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the strike in a little bit, but just some more general things about what you're doing. How long is your term? When do you start? When do you end?
Normally, the editor-in-chief will be elected at the end of the spring semester. My situation was different because there was an editor-in-chief elected. I was lifestyles editor last year. I was slated to be sports editor, and our editor-in-chief did not return, and so we had an emergency meeting during the summer with the 4 or 5 exec board members who were here, and I was sort of, talked into taking the role for this year. And so my term will last from now until the end of spring, and if I'm still here in December, well, then I might reapply for it, but that all depends on, if I graduate or if there's somebody else who's better qualified than myself. Anybody can apply. We have elections. The exec board elects the new editor-in-chief. We all elect ourselves, and it just goes from there.
Okay. Couple things here about the editorial pages you were speaking of. The actual editorial that we see, I guess it's always on page 2 there to the right.
Yeah, we make the call.
Yes, okay. Is that something done by the entire board? How are those written? Who writes them?
Not exactly the entire board. Everybody is allowed to join in whenever they want. Some board members will be too busy to take the time, to do it, but others will sit down. There's usually 6 or 7. I think the last issue we had 8 of us that sat down. Our managing editor, Leslie Shore, is in charge of it. She says, okay, what's the question that we have? What do you think we can talk about? And last week's we talked about the Reimer snack bar, and we just list the things that we see wrong or that we think need to be changed. In the past, we did the escort service by public safety. It was phased out, and the exec board chatted about it. The people on the We Make the Call board chatted about it, and we're like, that's not a good idea. What if people needed escorts? How are we going to, how can we address this? And then our opinions of the 8 of us, we put what we think, and it just goes into the We Make the Call, and we decide, what our stand on this is as a board.
Okay. How much of the board's view are you taking into account maybe what the students are giving feedback to you? I mean, you say you're getting letters. Is that, if you're getting a lot of letters on something, does that mean you're going to hit it hard then?
In the past, yes, we have. Last year we got a lot of letters about Reimer Snack Bar, about Chandler with the construction, and many people were upset, and I think we did a plus and minus about Chandler being renovated. We did another thing on the food situation here in the Clarion campus. I'm trying to think if we've done anything else in the past. Mostly, I would say if we would get a lot of letters to the editor, we would address that and We Make the Call. But everything we've received letters about so far have been very diverse. We've had a few about the strike, a few about other issues, and it really haven't had anything we can really jump on just as yet.
What do you, it's what, third issue?
Fourth issue
coming
coming out on Thursday the 7th.
What are you seeing a lot of letters coming in so far this year? I mean, it's still early in the semester.
Still early. We've only received a handful, but we've received a couple about the strike. We just received one, which ironically was from one of our editors, but he was upset about the foul stench of cow manure on campus near Carlson, and that was the last issue, and he discussed that. And we've received a couple about different topics. The one thing I'd like to stress is that when people send in letters to the editor, it's our policy that they have to sign it or leave their name and a number so we can print it. A few people have dropped some off anonymous, and we are not at liberty to print those. So I'd like to use this chance to say that if you want to drop one off, be sure to add your name and your number and whatever information else you think we might need, and then we can publish it. But otherwise, if it's just anonymous, we really can't do much with it.
Community-wise, now I know that the paper does go into the community. I've seen it at the Clarion Mall. What are you seeing in the way? Are you getting feedback from the community?
We've been, a few of us have been stopped. Our advisor, Dr. Barlow, has been stopped in the streets, and people have complimented him on our paper. They've given us some suggestions. They've, we get some negative feedback as well. Everybody makes a few mistakes, and there's been a couple issues so far. We made a couple errors that we shouldn't have made, but we've seen some positive feedback and some negative feedback. I mean, everyone seems to be pleased with how it's coming along, and so far, so good. Everyone seems to be happy, and we haven't received too many complaints. And the negative feedback we have received has been very cordial, has been very nice, and they've just given us ideas of how to remedy our problem.
Any big changes this year that we've seen maybe since last year's issues, or that we're going to see?
We're still in transition. Right now we're still in transition. I'm not going to predict any large changes yet. You never know what may happen.
Right.
We may have something change along down the road, a style change, or maybe something new. One possibility I'd like to look at in the future is, depending on with our printer, we go through another printer, prints out the paper itself, and I'd like to try to go for not only a color front page but also a color back page to supplement with the sports. So we might work around that, and that's a possibility we might be coming up, but we never know. And that's been tossed around for a year or so now, so it might happen, it might not. It's a chance.
All right. We're going to take a break. There's so much to talk about it. We're going to talk about some more things in the call. We're going to talk about some things in the news when we come back after this.
Introducing new frequent phone hours.
Use the phone just 8 hours a week and get this free phone cradle. Use it 12 hours and get a speakerphone.
Use it 15 hours and get this cool headset.
Or stay on the phone 20 hours a week
and get a pasty complexion,
flabby body, and a great new nickname at school.
Exercised lately?
I want all my friends to be there. I want my mother to be there. My hair's gonna be done so beautiful. A lot of music, a nice blue dress. I want to be beautiful for every single person that goes there. If I got shot, I want to have a nice funeral.
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. Help stop the violence. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT for free information. Not one more lost life. Not one more grieving family. Not one more.
And we're back this evening on Feedback with Jeff Say, the editor of the Clarion Call. Continuing our discussion about the call, a lot of students out there are very busy, but they still want to maybe be involved in the call, see their name in it. How can anyone do that?
Well, of course, like we mentioned, through letter to the editor, we're always open to open forum from that. Students are always welcome as long as they sign, give their number, they can drop off a letter to the editor, and it'll pretty much be published. Also, another way is through the Hyde Park. It's on page 3 of the newspaper, and every week a different submission is brought either to ourselves or to Dr. Barlow, our advisor, and it's pretty much an essay form dealing with whatever anybody wants to speak about. In the past, we've had, last issue we had a Clarion University student, John Giroux, submitted an essay. We've had Dr. William Barnes of the biology department submit a Hyde Park, and Dr. Barlow has done a Hyde Park. He always does one at the beginning, and I do believe one at the end of the year. So it's just a form, about an essay form of anything a student would like to speak about, and those can be submitted either to myself or to Dr. Barlow.
Okay, the big news, I think, on campus this year, my show last week, we had Mrs. Sue Traynor on, the APSCUF representative, has been the strike. What have you guys been doing coverage-wise of that?
Well, every issue, since the first issue, we've had a topic or an article concerning the topic of the strike. Last week we had a full front page covering the 2 forums that were held, the one at the Student Senate and the one just in 252 Gemmel for the students held by the state system and APSCUF. And we've just been having a strike team follow what's going on. We call pretty much daily to APSCUF to talk to to Mrs. Traynor and find out what's going on. We also we're in contact with Ken Marshall from the state system to find out what's going on on their side of the negotiations, and we're just trying to keep an even keel, keep the coverage clean, and make sure we're not being biased in any way.
Has that been difficult for you at all? Obviously, it's more accessible for Mrs. Traynor. Has that been a problem?
Personally, I don't think so. We receive faxes pretty much almost every day from the state system, and Mrs. Traynor has been more than willing to give us all the information we need. And what I found most difficult is dealing with the rumors that are come about. I've heard so many, even just today, that I had people stop in the office and ask me, well, I heard Edinburgh and Indiana we're going on strike, you know, Monday and Tuesday, and I'm like, no, it's not true. We checked in with Mrs. Sue Traynor, and everything was cleared up, and that's going to be addressed in an article in the upcoming call. How we're going to explain if a strike would occur, you know, how would it occur, you know, what would happen, and we're going to do our best to find all the information out as it seems that it's sort of looming in the distance.
There seems to be so much information. Like I was telling Mrs. Traynor last week here, every day it seems I hear something different. And the other thing about contingency plans, have you maybe heard anything about that? It doesn't seem like they know yet.
Now, there seems to be, the information keeps rolling in every day, and it's hard to keep on track, and the contingency plans, I haven't heard much news on that lately. Pretty much all we've heard was from the talks on Saturday. I do believe that was October 2nd. They broke down, or they just ended, and nothing was resolved. And we haven't heard much other than that. I mean, I heard there was a conference call the other day between APSCUF, and other than that, there hasn't been much news. It keeps rolling in, and it comes so quick. It seems to be in little tidbits, and you know, it seems every few hours there's something different, but it all seems to roll into the same category. And you have to sort of sort it out and see how you're going to fit that into one of your stories.
Okay. Overall in the call, obviously the university newspaper, what are you doing, what kind of coverage are we going to be seeing from, like you said, from other SHE schools, state system schools, but are we going to see state things, are we going to see national things in sports and in regular news?
Well, the sports, we just received a new sports editor this week. For the first few weeks, the copy and design editor and myself were pulling double duty, trying to find a sports editor, and we were doing the sports pages as well. So, in my opinion, they weren't exactly up to par the way they should have been. Now with the new sports editor, I think we're going to see some different things in sports. Yes, we're going to see some more national stuff, We're also going to see some more different features. We're having a new feature called Unsung Heroes. I think it's going to be a weekly feature now in the sports section, dealing with different either teams or individuals in the sports scene who aren't exactly recognized as much as they should be, and so they'll be in the Unsung Heroes group.
Is that a feedback exclusive there, announcing that?
I guess that could be a feedback exclusive. I do believe that is. That will be coming out on Thursday. I do believe the first Unsung Hero in the sports section will be on Thursday. As for the state system, I know that in the news section now we have a little brief column where we cover 2 or 3 top stories from the state system schools, and we'll probably continue in that, and if something big does go down concerning something else on another campus, that will always be featured in the news section.
And you also have the comics, obviously.
Yes, we have the comics, the entertainment pages. A new feature we started last semester, and we continued it this semester, is the soap opera dish update. We have that every week. It's just we compile what's going on in the soap operas, and we put them in the call for easy access. Also, we have the classifieds, which have always been popular. Greek classifieds, personal classifieds. They're always a very popular part of the paper. And lifestyles, I really don't. I've mentioned almost every section except for that, really. And my heart's really close to lifestyle since I was the editor there last year. And I think the lifestyle section this year has been very strong. We have a lot of very big events, especially with Autumn Leaf just last weekend. And there was a very strong lifestyle section. And this campus always has something going on. And with MTV coming this year with Lit and Garbage, that is another very big story. And that's, I think we're just blessed with some very good stories this semester.
Where can we pick up the call maybe on campus? What are some of the main locations, and if maybe the main locations off campus?
On campus, Carlson Library, Chandler, Ingamel. Usually comes out Thursday around between 12 and 2, and by the time our distribution people get it out, it's usually around 2 and 3. Off campus, Walmart has it, the mall has it. I know McDonald's uptown has it. McDonald's out on exit 9 will have it this week. Another feedback exclusive.
Wow, 2 tonight.
Yes. I do believe that Eden Park has it, and I think, you can look pretty much everywhere around the community, and we have it almost somewhere.
So you're well supported.
We're very well supported. The community has always given us a very good support.
All right, let's move on from some things in the call to something that's been in the news that I haven't had a chance to talk about earlier today, but this art exhibit in New York City opened up on Saturday, and Mayor Giuliani was thinking of not giving funding for it, and because here's what an article said about it. Among other things, the sensation, that's what they were calling the show, includes a pig sliced in 2 and suspended in glass tanks of formaldehyde, a self-portrait sculpture made with 8 pints of the artist's own blood. I mean, that's dedication for that thing, isn't it? And works that use dead flies and maggots. But at the center of the fray, however, is a painting of the Virgin Mary globbed with elephant dung and pasted with cutouts from pornographic magazines. I believe they were saying it was the behinds from the magazines. Now, I heard earlier this week that those behinds were to represent butterflies, and the dung was supposed to represent, like, earthiness, and the earthiness going to the Virgin Mary. I mean, I don't know. Are people overreacting? Like, what's your take on all of this?
Well, the first time I read about it wasn't even really used in the context of offending somebody. It was more used in the context of politics, that Hillary Clinton had said, oh, well, I'll still continue funding, and Mary Giuliani, who is also seemingly running, they're both running for the same Senate spot, Mary Giuliani was like, no, this is smut. And personally myself, I find it a little on the offensive side with the Virgin Mary, but it's the artist's, and it's the artist's take. Everyone has their own say. What one finds offensive is another man's beauty. And what I'm seeing is just, I don't know what the whole, I can understand where people are coming from, but it's just art. It's out there to shock. It's sort of, it's nothing that's going to come out and really hurt you. It may offend you, you may be shocked by it, but it's not going to cause you any bodily harm, so I don't see what the real huge fuss is.
Well, then should we be paying for it? Should tax money be going to allow this to be displayed? It was in a New York art museum. I can't see the title of it here, but I mean it's obviously they're getting the Brooklyn Museum of Art. Obviously they're getting
one of the larger ones. Yes.
They're getting some money from some government entity.
I think if the government does not fund art in some way, that I don't want to say it will die but it's going to take more of a backseat to other things. And art is a very important part of our culture. I mean, we need something as entertainment value as, I mean, even if purely for shock value. And a lot of, if you're going to just cut off funding because of one exhibit, you're not looking at other exhibits that may be a lot more, you know, non-offensive and more wholesome. But if you cut off for one exhibit, you're going to cut them off for all, and it's just, you're punishing artists for not really, for their job, for what they're supposed to do.
Well, as I was saying, it opened last Saturday. It opened to protests, what I heard. There were some protesters out there. Do you think that maybe that this whole story is this, I was thinking about this earlier today, maybe it's just this wonderful view on the whole idea of democracy because, hey, there's something out there that that an artist doesn't like. I mean, that an artist likes and the general population doesn't. It's his First Amendment right to do it. Well, then there's these protesters who don't like it. Is it their First Amendment right? You know,
they have as much right as he does to put it out as they do to protest. I mean, it's not like they're going to be able to go in, if they would go in and cause the exhibit or himself bodily harm, well then, you know, there's a different story. But they're outside, they're having their say. It's all in the First Amendment. That they have their freedom of speech, and he has his freedom of speech. It may be a little bit different. He has his freedom of speech in his artwork. They have their freedom of speech in their protest and their signs and how they feel. So I think in that way, it's sort of just, it sort of collides, but it also sort of meshes together, and that it's sort of like you said about the democracy. They're each getting their First Amendment right, and they both should be happy.
I think it's great democracy at work.
Yes.
Thanks. We're glad to get your opinions on that. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mark.
Maybe we'll see you back sometime in the future. And once again, the Clarion Call, you can pick it up in just a couple days around campus where Jeff was telling you to. We'll be back after this.
Standing out from the crowd is easy when you stop in at Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall. Whether you're looking for junior trendy, girls, or fashion for women, they have it all with many different styles. With our newly expanded shoe and accessory department, you're surely to find that special touch to enhance that new outfit. And if you have a fashion question, our experts are here to help. That's Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall, just off Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. Sunday from noon till 5.
News travels fast. That's why you need the speed and accuracy of a news team that brings coverage closer to home. Every Tuesday and Wednesday night, join TV5 News for Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8. Tune in for the latest in regional, state, and national news. Plus, with our newspaper exchange partner, the Clarion News, teaming up to bring coverage closer to home every Tuesday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8 is here on TV5.
And thanks to Jeff Say for joining us tonight. It was a good show, got his opinions on things, and as I said, pick up the Clarion Call. You can do that all around campus. And tomorrow night on the show, we're going to be having some animals in the studio. I can't wait for this. We'll be talking to the Humane Society, find out how you can adopt a pet, and also some pet care tips. That's tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us.